The stars looked different from Kepler Station. Commander Hyun-woo pressed his face against the thick viewing window and watched the alien ships approach. 3 massive vessels moved through space like sleeping giants. Their hulls were dark green, with strange symbols that glowed with soft blue light. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Sojin from behind him. She held her tablet close to her chest, recording everything. As Earth's best expert on alien life, she had dreamed of this moment her whole life. But now that it was happening, her hands shook with nervous excitement. Hyun-woo nodded but kept his eyes on the ships. Beautiful and dangerous. We don't know what they want. The first contact with an alien race was the most important moment in human history. Everything had to go perfectly. Earth had spent 5 years building Kepler Station in deep space, far from home. If something went wrong, help was months away. "Sir, they're sending a message," called out Lieutenant Tae-young from the communications desk. "It's in our language." Hyun-woo raised his eyebrows. "They learned English?" "No, sir, they're speaking Korean, English, Chinese, Arabic, and 12 other Earth languages at the same time. Somehow they know all of them." The main screen flickered to life. An alien face appeared, unlike anything humans had ever seen. The creature had dark green skin covered in small scales. Its eyes were large and silver, like mirrors that reflected light. When it opened its mouth, rows of sharp teeth showed, but its voice was calm and gentle. "Greetings, children of Earth. I am High Scholar Thelvash of the Valthani people. We come in peace to welcome you to the greater galaxy." Hyun-woo stepped forward and straightened his uniform. "Welcome, High Scholar. I am Commander Hyun-woo of the United Earth Defense Force. We are honored to meet you." Thelvash tilted his head in what might have been a smile. "The honor is ours. Your species has traveled far from your home star. This shows great courage. We would like to meet face to face if you allow it." 3 hours later, the docking bay, filled with Earth's most important people. President Lee had arrived on the fastest ship available. Military leaders, scientists, and diplomats all waited in perfect lines. Everything was clean and shiny. Humans wanted to make a good first impression. The alien shuttle was small and round like a metal egg. It landed without making any sound. When the door opened, 5 aliens stepped out. They were taller than humans, maybe 7 feet high. They wore long robes that seemed to be made of liquid metal. The robes changed colors as they moved. Thelvash was in front. He was older than the others, with scars on his face and arms. When he walked, he leaned on a staff that looked like it was carved from black stone. "Your station is impressive," Thelvash said as he looked around. "You build with both strength and beauty in mind. This is good." The ceremony was formal and polite. Gifts were exchanged. The aliens gave humans a small device that could translate any language instantly. Humans gave the aliens art, music, and books from Earth. Everyone smiled and spoke carefully, but Sojin noticed something strange. While the other aliens seemed happy and curious, Thelvash looked worried. His silver eyes kept moving around the room like he was looking for danger that nobody else could see. After the main ceremony ended, people broke into smaller groups. Scientists talked to scientists. Military officers shared stories with alien warriors. Diplomats made careful jokes and laughed politely. Thelvash walked slowly through the groups, listening to conversations. Then he approached Sojin, who was studying alien artifacts with her tablet. "Dr. Sojin," he said quietly, "may I speak with you privately?" Something in his voice made her look up quickly. The old alien's eyes were serious, almost sad. "Of course." They walked to a quiet corner of the docking bay. Thelvash looked around to make sure nobody else could hear them. When he spoke, his voice was very low. "Your people are young and full of hope. This is both a gift and a danger." Sojin frowned. "I don't understand." Thelvash leaned on his staff and stared at the floor. "I have lived for 300 of your years. I have seen many species take their first steps into the galaxy. Some survive. Many do not." "What do you mean?" The old alien lifted his head and looked directly into her eyes. "There are 3 great powers in this galaxy. They have ruled for thousands of years. They do not like change. They do not like new ideas. Most of all, they do not like species that refuse to bow down to them. So Jin felt cold fear in her stomach. Are you saying they'll attack us? Not if you are careful. Not if you are smart. Thelvash gripped his staff tighter. But if you ever strike first against them, they will never stop hunting you. Never. They will chase you across the galaxy until every human is dead or enslaved. The words hit Sojin like a physical blow. Why are you telling me this? Because I have studied your species. You are brave. You are clever. But you are also proud and stubborn. When someone threatens you, your first thought is to fight back. This could destroy you. Sojin looked across the room at Hyanwu, who was laughing. With alien officers, everyone looked so happy and peaceful. What should we do? Thelvash followed her gaze. We offer your people a choice. Stay in your home system. We will protect you. You can live in peace, but you must never leave your sun's light. Or you can spread across the galaxy, but you will face the three great powers alone. That's not really a choice, Sojin said angrily. That's prison, the old alien nodded sadly. Yes, many species make the same complaint, but prison is better than death. Who are these three powers? The Korthic hegemony controls the galactic north. They are warriors who believe strength makes. Right, the Silence Collective rules the eastern spiral. They are machines who think organic life is a disease. The Eternal Throne holds the galactic center. They are ancients who see all younger species as children to be controlled. Sojin wrote everything down on her tablet. Have any species ever defeated them? Thelvash was quiet for a long moment. Some have tried. Their worlds are now empty. The rest of the ceremony passed like a strange dream. Sojin tried to act normal, but Thelvash's words echoed in her mind. When the aliens prepared to leave, the old scholar approached her one last time. Remember what I told you, he whispered. If you strike first, they will never stop. We have seen it happen before. Wait, Sojin called out as he turned to go. What happened to your people? Did you choose prison or freedom? Thelvash stopped walking, his shoulders sagged. We chose prison. We have lived under their protection for 2,000 years. We are safe, but we are not free. Every day I wonder if we made the right choice. He looked back at her with his ancient silver eyes. Your species burns bright with potential. Perhaps you will find a third option that we could not. But please, be careful. The galaxy is full of the bones of species who thought they were special. After the aliens left, the humans celebrated. They had made first contact. They had new friends. The future looked bright and full of possibilities, but Sojin sat alone in her quarters, staring at her notes. She thought about Thelvash's warning and wondered. If humanity was walking into a trap they didn't understand, outside her window, the stars looked the same as always. But now she knew that among those distant lights, three ancient empires waited and watched. And if humans made even one wrong move, those empires would never stop hunting them. The choice was coming. Prison or freedom. Safety or danger. She hoped humanity would choose wisely. 5 years had passed since the first meeting with the Valthani. Humanity had made their choice. They picked freedom over safety. 3 new human colonies now orbited distant stars, and exploration ships pushed deeper into unknown space every day. Captain Dong Hyan loved being far from Earth. His ship, the Soul's Pride, was small but fast. It could travel between stars in just a few weeks. His crew of 23 people had become like family during their 2-year mission to map new systems. Captain, we're picking up something strange, called Science Officer Yoonji from her station. She was young but brilliant, the best at reading space sensors that Earth had ever trained. Dong Hyan floated over to her station. The ship's artificial gravity was turned off to save power during long jumps between stars. What kind of strange? Yoonji pointed at her screen. Metal, lots of it. In a system that should be empty. She looked up at him with excited eyes. I think we found something artificial. The system had no name, just numbers on their star charts. 1 small red star with 3 dead planets. According to their maps, Nothing lived here. Nothing should be here, but when the soul's pride dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they found something impossible. A huge space station orbited the second planet. It was dark and silent, but their sensors showed it was made of materials that humans had never seen before. "It's enormous," whispered Navigator Kyung-min. "Maybe 10 times bigger than our largest station." Dong-Hyun studied the readings. The station showed no signs of life, no power signatures, no radio signals. It just hung in space like a ghost. "Eunji, can you tell what species built it?" She worked at her controls for several minutes. "The design doesn't match anything in our databases." "But Captain, look at this." She brought up a new image on the main screen. Those symbols on the hull, they match some of the patterns we saw on Korthek ships in the Alliance files. Everyone on the bridge went quiet. The Korthek hegemony was one of the 3 ancient empires that Thelvash had warned them about. They were known as fierce warriors who showed no mercy to their enemies. "Could be an old research station," suggested Engineer Won-shik. "Maybe abandoned?" For decades, Dong-Hyun thought carefully. Earth Command had given him strict orders: explore empty systems, avoid contact with the 3 great powers, don't take any risks that might start a war, but the station was clearly abandoned. And if it contained Korthek technology, Earth could learn things that would help humanity survive in this dangerous galaxy. "We'll take a closer look," Dong-Hyun decided, "but carefully. If we see any signs of life, we leave immediately." They spent 3 hours scanning the station from a safe distance. It was definitely empty, no life signs, no power, no active systems. The station looked like it had been abandoned for a very long time. "I'm reading advanced technology inside," Yoonji reported. "Power systems that are more efficient than anything we have. Weapons that could protect our colonies. Medical equipment that might cure diseases we can't treat." Dong-Hyun felt excitement and fear fighting in his chest. This technology could change everything for humanity. It could make them strong enough to defend themselves. But taking it would mean boarding a Korthek station without permission. "Captain," said Communications Officer Haewon quietly, "I've been monitoring all frequencies. Nothing, no distress signals, no automated messages, no signs that anyone knows this place exists." The crew waited for their captain's decision. Dong-Hyun looked at each of their faces. These people trusted him to keep them safe. But they also trusted him to do what was best for humanity. "We go aboard," he said finally. "Small team, quick mission. We take what we can carry and leave." The boarding party included Dong-Hyun, Yoonji, Won-shik, and 2 security officers. They wore full space suits and carried weapons just in case. The station's docking bay was huge and empty. Their footsteps echoed in the darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as they entered, triggered by their movement. The station still had some power after all, but the lights were dim and red, making everything look like a nightmare. "The air is breathable," Yoonji reported, checking her readings. "But I recommend we keep our suits on." They moved deeper into the station. The hallways were wide and tall, built for creatures larger than humans. Strange writing covered the walls. Some rooms contained equipment that hummed quietly in the darkness. "Look at this," Won-shik called from a large chamber. Dozens of computers lined the walls, their screens dark but intact. "If we can get these working, we might learn everything about Korthek technology." They worked quickly. Won-shik connected portable power cells to the alien computers. Yoonji took samples of unknown materials. The security officers watched the entrances and exits after 2 hours. They had collected enough technology to keep Earth scientists busy for years. Dong-Hyun was about to order the team back to their ship when alarms started blaring throughout the station. "Captain!" Haewon's voice crackled through their radios from the Soul's Pride. "We have incoming ships." 3 Korthek vessels moving fast. Dong-Hyun's blood turned to ice. "How long until they get here?" 15 minutes, maybe less." The boarding team ran through the station's corridors toward their shuttle. Behind them, more lights were turning on. The station was waking up, probably sending automatic signals to the approaching Korthak ships. They reached their shuttle just as the first alien vessel appeared on the horizon. It was sleek and black, with red lights running along its sides. 2 more ships followed close behind. "Get us out of here," Dong Hyan shouted as they dove into the shuttle, but it was too late. As their small craft tried to reach the Soul's Pride, energy beams shot past them. The Korthak ships were fast and heavily armed. They surrounded the human exploration vessel before it could escape. "This is War Leader Korvax of the Korthak Hegemony," a harsh voice spoke over the radio. "You have violated our space and stolen our property. Surrender immediately or we will destroy you." Dong Hyan's mind raced. If they surrendered, the Korthak would probably kill them anyway. If they fought, they would die for certain. The Soul's Pride was an exploration ship, not a warship. It had only light weapons and basic shields. "Captain, what are your orders?" asked pilot Ji-won over the intercom. Dong Hyan closed his eyes and thought about Earth, about the colonies that needed protection, about the technology they had discovered. That could save millions of human lives. Then he thought about Thelvash's warning. If you strike first, they will never stop, but the Korthak were going to kill them anyway. "All hands, prepare for ramming speed," Dong Hyan announced over the ship's speakers. "We're going to take one of them with us." "Sir?" Joanne's voice was confused and afraid. "You heard me. Full power to engines. Aim for their command ship. Send everything we learned back to Earth right now." Ji was already working at her station, uploading all their data to a message torpedo. "Data package ready, Captain. Launch it. Send it home." The small torpedo shot away from their ship, accelerating toward the jump point that would carry it back to Earth. The Korthak ships tried to stop it, but it was too small and fast. "All crew to emergency stations," Dong Hyan called out. "This is our last mission, but it won't be forgotten." The Soul's Pride turned toward the largest Korthak vessel. Its engines burned brighter than ever before as the ship picked up speed. The alien warriors fired everything they had, but Dong Hyan's ship was moving too fast to stop. "For Earth!" Someone shouted over the intercom. "For humanity!" Others replied. The collision happened in silence, the way all things do in space. The Soul's Pride struck the Korthak command ship at full speed. Both vessels exploded in a ball of white fire that lit up the empty system. The 2 remaining Korthak ships stared at the wreckage in shock. Their war leader was dead. Their most advanced vessel was destroyed. And all because of one small human ship that refused to surrender. The surviving Korthak commander sent one message before his ships left the system. It went out on all frequencies, reaching every corner of the galaxy. "The new species has drawn. First blood, the humans have broken the ancient laws. The compact of silence is broken. War leader Korvax is dead by their hand." The message traveled faster than light, jumping from system to system. It reached the 3 great empires within days. For the first time in 1,000 years, the ancient peace was shattered. On Earth. President Ji-hoon received the news in his office late at night. The message torpedo from the Soul's Pride had arrived safely. Along with invaluable alien technology, it carried Dong Hyan's final report. "We were discovered while investigating an abandoned Korthak station. They gave us no choice but surrender or death. We chose a third option. The technology we found could save humanity, but I fear we may have started something terrible. Tell our families we died free, tell Earth to prepare for war." Defense Minister De Jin stood beside the president's desk, reading the report over his shoulder. "Sir, our deep space monitors are picking up increased activity near the borders of all 3 empires. Ships are moving, fleets are gathering." Ji-hoon rubbed his tired eyes. "Get me Dr. Sojin. We need to know everything she learned from that Valthani prophet." An hour later, Sojin sat in the president's office, her old notes spread across the table. She looked older now, with gray in her hair and worry lines around her eyes. "He warned us," she said quietly. "Thelvash told us exactly what would happen. If we strike first, they'll need the Korthak war fleet arrived at Proxima Colony like a storm of death. Admiral Vextar commanded 200 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. The colonists had 6 hours to evacuate before the orbital bombardment began. General Tejo watched the attack from the bridge of Earth's newest warship, the Guardian. He was 50 years old, with gray hair and scars from the border wars of his youth. Now he faced an enemy that made those old conflicts look like playground fights. "Sir, Proxima Colony is gone," reported his communications officer. "All surface installations destroyed. The Korthek are moving toward New Sol next." Tejo's hands tightened into fists. 50,000 people had lived on Proxima. Most had escaped, but not all. The lucky ones died quickly in the first bombing wave. "Deploy the fleet? We make our stand at New Sol?" His daughter Yujin stood beside him, wearing the uniform of a starship commander. At 28, she was the youngest person ever to captain a human warship. Her ship, the Thunder, was built using technology from the abandoned Korthek station. "Father, our ships are ready. The new weapon systems are online." Tejo nodded. The technology that Donghayan had died to bring home was now humanity's only hope. Human engineers had worked day and night to understand alien science. They built new ships with stronger shields and more powerful weapons, but the Korthek had been building warships for thousands of years. The Battle of New Sol lasted 3 days. Human ships darted between asteroids like angry wasps, striking fast and running before the enemy could respond. Yujin led the attack on the Korthek flagship, while her father coordinated the overall defense. "Target their main engines," Yujin shouted as the Thunder dove toward the massive alien ship. Energy beams lit up space around them, but her pilot was skilled and lucky. The Thunder's new plasma cannons tore holes in the Korthak ship's armor. For a moment, it looked like the humans might win their first real victory. Then reinforcements arrived. More Korthak ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, fresh and ready for battle. The human fleet was forced to retreat, leaving New Sol to burn, but something unexpected happened next. As Admiral Vextar celebrated his victory, urgent messages reached him from Korthak space. The Silence Collective had attacked 3 Korthak border worlds. Machine ships had appeared without warning and destroyed everything in their path. "This is impossible," Vextar told his officers. "The Collective has honored the peace for 800 years. Why would they attack now?" The answer came from Korthak intelligence. The attacking ships had been broadcasting human radio signals. The machines thought the humans in Korthak were working together far across the galaxy. The Eternal Throne was having similar problems. Their ancient enemies, the Silence Collective, accused them of creating the humans as weapons. Machine fleets began attacking throne worlds along their shared border. In the depths of space, Intelligence Operative High One smiled as she listened to the intercepted messages. She commanded a small stealth ship called the Shadow, invisible to most sensors. Her mission was simple but dangerous: make the 3 empires think the others were controlling humanity. "Phase 1 complete," she reported to Earth Command through an encrypted channel. "The Collective believes the Korthek created humans as biological weapons. The Throne thinks the Collective is using humans to test their defenses." The plan had been designed by Earth's smartest strategic mind, Colonel Minho. He was only 35, but already considered a genius of military planning. While the generals fought battles, Minho fought information wars. "Excellent work, High One," Minho replied from his hidden command center. "Begin Phase 2, we need all 3 empires shooting at each other instead of us." Phase 2 was more dangerous. High One's team used captured alien technology to build fake ships that looked like they belonged to different empires. These false ships attacked targets and left behind evidence pointing to the wrong enemies. A fake silence ship destroyed a Korthak mining station. A fake throne vessel attacked collective factories. A fake Korthak fleet raided throne colonies. Within months, the ancient peace collapsed completely. The 3 empires that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were suddenly at war with each other. Admiral Vextar found himself fighting on 2 fronts. While he hunted humans in the outer systems, silence machines attacked his supply lines. Eternal Throne battleships struck his bases from the other direction. The humans are just a distraction, he told his war council. The real threat is the other empires. They're using this small species to hide their true plans. On Earth, President Ji-hoon met with his military leaders in an underground bunker. The planet's orbital defenses were stronger now, but everyone knew they couldn't stop a full Imperial assault. How long can we keep this up? He asked Min-Ho. The young strategist studied holographic battle maps that showed fighting across dozens of star systems. As long as they keep fighting each other, instead of focusing on us. But it's getting harder to maintain the deception. Dr. Sojin, now Earth's chief advisor on alien affairs, shook her head sadly. Thelvash warned us this would happen. We struck first, and now they'll never stop. But I don't think even he expected the whole galaxy to burn. The fighting spread like wildfire. Species that had lived under the protection of the three empires suddenly found themselves caught in the crossfire. Some tried to stay neutral, others picked sides. Many simply fled toward the galactic rim, hoping to escape the chaos. The Valthani were among the refugees. Their protected worlds were too close to the battle zones. When Thelvash's people arrived at Earth's borders, Sojin convinced the government to grant them sanctuary. Thelvash was very old now, barely able to walk even with his ancient staff. But his silver eyes still held sharp intelligence. Sojin brought him to the underground command center to meet with human leaders. Your prophecy came true, she told him. We struck first, and they'll never stop hunting us. The old alien looked at the battle displays with sad understanding. But something else has happened, something I did not foresee. What? The ancient peace is broken forever. For 1,000 years, the three empires kept smaller species trapped and afraid. Now those same empires are destroying each other. Perhaps this was necessary. General Taeho limped over to them. He had been wounded in the latest battle at Centauri Station. Are you saying this war is a good thing? Thelvash leaned heavily on his staff. Not good, necessary. Sometimes old things must burn before new things can grow. Reports kept coming in from across the galaxy. The Korthek had lost half their fleet fighting the other empires. The Silence Collective was pulling back to defend their core worlds. The Eternal Throne was calling up ancient reserves that hadn't fought in centuries, but humanity was still surviving. Their small, fast ships continued to hit enemy targets and disappear. The alien technology they had stolen was being copied and improved. Human colonies were building hidden shipyards and asteroid fields. Yujin commanded a growing fleet of hybrid human-alien vessels. Her crews were young and fearless, willing to take risks that veteran alien commanders would never consider. We're not just defending anymore, she reported to her father after a successful raid on a Korthik supply depot. We're actually winning some battles. Taeho felt pride mixed with worry. Winning battles isn't the same as winning the war. The empires are still much stronger than us. But they're getting weaker every day, Yujin pointed out. Every day they fight each other is another day we get stronger. As the second year of the Galactic War began, strange reports reached Earth from the Outer Rim. Dozens of smaller species were forming their own alliances. Some were even asking to join humanity's fight against the empires. Minho studied these reports with growing excitement. We started this war by accident, but maybe we can end it on purpose. In his private quarters, Thelvash stared out at the stars and whispered ancient Valthani prayers. He had lived long enough to see the galaxy's balance of power shatter. Now he wondered what would rise from the ashes. The humans had proven they would never stop fighting. But perhaps, he thought, that wasn't always a bad thing. Outside human and alien refugees worked together to build new ships, new weapons, and new hope. The galaxy was burning, but from those flames, something unprecedented was being born. The three ancient empires had ruled through fear and division. Now they faced an enemy that grew stronger through unity and determination. Humanity had struck. First, just as the prophet warned, and they would never stop. The siege of Earth began on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Vextar had finally convinced the Silence Collective to join forces with the Korthek. Together, their combined fleets surrounded humanity's homeworld like a metal cage. President Ji-hoon stood in the command bunker deep beneath Geneva, watching the enemy ships on the main display. There were so many that they blocked out the stars. 3 years of galactic war had led to this moment. "Sir, they're demanding our surrender," reported Communications Officer Dalsu, complete and unconditional. Ji-hoon looked around the bunker at his advisors and generals. These people had fought impossible odds for 3 years. They had turned humanity from refugees into warriors. Now Earth itself was under attack. "Send them our answer," Ji-hoon said calmly. "Tell them humans don't surrender." The bombardment started. An hour later, energy beams rained down from orbit, striking military targets across the planet. Earth's orbital defense platforms fought back, but they were outnumbered 50-1. Defense Minister Dejin coordinated the evacuation from her command post in Seoul. Millions of people streamed toward underground shelters and transport ships. The lucky ones would make it to the outer colonies. The rest would face whatever came next. "The shield generators in North America are failing," she reported to the president. "We're losing atmosphere in 3 major cities." Ji-hoon closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, his voice was steady. "Order the evacuation of all remaining civilians. Military personnel will hold the line." But even as Earth burned above them, something remarkable was happening in the deep bunkers below. Engineer Sung-ho had spent 2 years studying captured technology from all 3 empires. Now he was combining their best ideas into something completely new. "The quantum fold weapon is ready for testing," he announced to the small group of scientists around him. "It uses Cortec power cores, silence targeting systems, and throne-dimensional mathematics." Dr. Sojin looked at the strange device that filled most of the underground laboratory. It was beautiful and terrifying, with flowing lines that seemed to bend space around them. "Will it work?" she asked. Yuan-Jaho wiped sweat from his face. "In theory, yes. It should be able to tear holes in space itself. But we've never tested anything this powerful." Above them, the siege continued. President Ji-hoon died defending the Geneva bunker when Cortec ground troops broke through the outer defenses. His last words were broadcast to every human settlement. "In the galaxy, we chose freedom. No matter what happens, remember that we chose to be free." Defense Minister Dejin took command of what remained of Earth's government. She was tough and smart, a former fighter pilot who had worked her way up through the military ranks. Now she faced the hardest decision of her life. "We can't hold Earth much longer," General Tejo told her during an emergency meeting. "But we don't have to." "What do you mean?" "The colonies are strong now. They have their own fleets, their own factories. Earth was our birthplace, but it doesn't have to be our grave." The Dejin understood. Earth could fall, but humanity would survive. The evacuation ships were already carrying millions of people to safety among the stars. But first, they would make the enemy pay for every inch of their homeworld. The final battle for Earth lasted 6 days. Human defenders fought from bunker to bunker, making the aliens bleed for every victory. When Cortec warriors took the ruins of New York, they found it empty except for automated defenses. When silence machines captured the remains of Tokyo, they discovered only computer viruses that infected their networks. On the 7th day, the last transport ships lifted off from hidden launch sites around the planet. The Jin was on the final ship, along with Sung-ho and his quantum weapon. "Earth control to all vessels," she transmitted as their ship reached orbit. "This is our final message from humanity's birthplace. We're not running away. We're going to finish what they started." The transport ship met up with Admiral Yujin's fleet at the edge of the solar system. The young admiral now commanded over 300 vessels, built in secret shipyards throughout human space. Many of her ships were crewed by aliens who had joined humanity's cause. "Welcome aboard the New Earth," Yujin said as she greeted the evacuees. Her flagship was huge, built to carry both refugees and weapons. "We've prepared quarters for everyone." But the Jin wasn't interested in rest. "Show me the quantum weapon installation." They worked for 3 days to mount Soon-Ho's device on the new Earth's hull. It looked wrong somehow, like it belonged in a different universe. When they powered it up for the first time, nearby stars seemed to flicker. "The targeting system is locked onto the enemy fleet," Soon-Ho reported. "But Minister, I have to warn you. This weapon might tear a hole in space that we can't close." Jin stared at the display showing Earth surrounded by enemy ships. They wanted a war. Let's give them one they'll never forget. While the humans prepared their secret weapon, something unexpected was happening across the galaxy. The smaller species that had been crushed under the Empire's rule for thousands of years were finally fighting back. The Threx Confederation declared independence from the Korthak hegemony. The Novan Collective broke free from silence control. Even some machine worlds rebelled against their collective masters. Dr. So-Jin found herself becoming humanity's ambassador to these new allies. She traveled from system to system in a fast diplomatic ship, meeting with leaders who had spent their lives in fear. "We offer you something the empires never did," she told a gathering of refugee species. "Not protection, not control. Partnership. Between equals." The Threx leader, a 6-armed creature named Vex 9, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Your species is young. Why should we trust you?" "Because we're fighting the same enemies," So-Jin replied. "And because we believe freedom is worth dying for." One by one, the smaller species joined what became known as the Coalition. They brought their own ships, their own weapons, their own desperate hope for a better future. Intelligence operative HFY coordinated with Coalition forces across dozens of systems. Her network of spies and saboteurs struck at Empire supply lines, communications, and morale. "The 3 empires are falling apart from the inside," she reported to Yujin during a secret meeting. "Their subject species are rebelling everywhere. But they still have enough ships to destroy us if they work together." Yujin studied the tactical displays. The Coalition now controlled nearly a quarter of the galaxy, but it was spread thin. The empires were wounded, but still dangerous. "Then we don't give them a chance to work together," she decided. "We hit all 3 at once." The plan was insane. 3 simultaneous attacks on the Empire home systems, launched from different parts of the galaxy. Each strike force would be outnumbered 10 to 1. But if they could coordinate the timing perfectly, the empires would be too busy defending themselves to help each other. Colonel Minho worked for weeks to plan the impossible operation. His tactical genius was pushed to its limits as he calculated jump times, fleet movements, and communication delays across thousands of light years. "It could work," he told Yujin finally, "but we'll only get one chance. If any of the 3 attacks fails, the others will be surrounded and destroyed." Yujin looked at the holographic battle map floating between them. Red dots showed Empire fleets. Blue dots showed Coalition forces. The red dots still outnumbered the blue ones by a huge margin. "What are our odds of success?" Minho was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, about 1 in 10. Yujin smiled. "I like those odds. When do we attack?" But first they had to deal with the enemy fleet still occupying Earth. The Jin's quantum weapon was ready, but using it would announce humanity's new power to the entire galaxy. "Are we sure about this?" Soon-Ho asked as he made final preparations. "Once we fire this thing, there's no going back." Jin thought about President Ji-hoon's last words, about Captain Dong Hyen's sacrifice, about all the humans who had died. "For freedom, we were never going back anyway," she said. "Fire when ready." The quantum fold weapon tore reality apart. Space twisted and folded in ways that hurt to look at. The Korthak silence fleet around Earth simply disappeared. Not destroyed, but transported somewhere else entirely. For a moment, Earth hung alone in space, scarred but free. Then Yujin's voice echoed across all Coalition frequencies. "This is Admiral Yujin of the United Human Coalition. All forces, begin Operation Liberation. Today we take the fight to their homeworlds." 3 fleets jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading toward targets that had never been successfully attacked in galactic history. The human way of war was about to be tested on the largest possible stage. The 3 Empire homeworlds had never been attacked in their entire history. For thousands of years, they had been safe behind layers of defenses and fleets. Today, that would change. Admiral Yujin stood on the bridge of the New Earth as her fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before them hung Korth Prime, the heart of the Korthic hegemony. The planet was surrounded by massive space stations and defensive platforms. Thousands of warships patrolled the system. All ships, this is Yujin. Remember why we're here. Every species the Korthic enslaved, every world they burned, every child who died in their wars. Today we end their reign of terror. Her fleet was small compared to the enemy forces. Only 200 coalition ships against 5,000 Korthic defenders. But these weren't the same humans who had fled Earth in panic 3 years ago. These were veterans who had learned to fight impossible odds and win on the other side of the galaxy. General Tejo prepared for his own impossible mission. Despite his age and wounds, he had insisted on leading the attack on the Silence Collective's core world. The machine planet hung in space like a metal sphere, covered in towers and factories that never stopped working. "Father, you should let me lead this attack," his daughter had argued before they separated. "Your injuries haven't fully healed," but Tejo had shaken his head. "This is where the old soldier makes his final stand. You have your own battle to fight." The third attack was happening in the Galactic Center, where the Eternal Throne sat on their ancient capital world. Colonel Minho commanded that assault from his flagship, using every trick of strategy and deception he had learned during the war. All three attacks began at exactly the same moment, timed to the second despite being thousands of light years apart. Yujin's fleet hit the Korthic defenses like a hammer. But instead of trying to fight their way through the enemy lines, they used a new tactic. Pilot Nari led squadrons of small, fast ships in coordinated strikes. They would appear from faster-than-light travel, destroy a target, and disappear before the enemy could respond. "Hit and run, just like we practiced," Nari called out as her squadron targeted a massive space station. "In and out before they know what happened." The Korthak had never faced an enemy that refused to fight fair. Their huge warships were designed for massive fleet battles, not chasing tiny fighters that struck from every direction at once. Meanwhile, Engineer Sung Ho activated his greatest creation. The quantum fold weapon didn't just destroy enemy ships. It transported them to random locations across the galaxy, leaving the Korthak confused and scattered. "Their command structure is breaking down," reported the tactical officer. "Half their fleet doesn't know where the other half went." But the real battle was happening on the planet's surface. Coalition ground forces, led by species that had suffered under Korthak rule for centuries, landed on Korth Prime with fury in their hearts. The Threx warriors fought with 4 arms each. The crystal-skinned Novans could survive in any environment. Together, they stormed the planetary capital. At the same time, General Tejo was facing the ultimate test of human determination. The Silence Collective's defenses were different from the Korthak. Instead of huge ships, they used millions of small drone fighters controlled by artificial intelligence. "It's like fighting a swarm of angry bees," complained one of his ship captains, as the drones surrounded them. But Tejo had studied the machines for years. He knew their weakness. All ships use the virus packets. Load them into the communication torpedoes. The virus packets were Dr. Sojin's contribution to the war effort. She had spent months learning how machine minds worked, then created digital diseases that could infect and confuse them. When the torpedoes exploded among the drone swarms, chaos followed. The infected machines began attacking each other instead of the coalition forces. The perfect order of the collective became a nightmare of friendly fire and confusion. "Push forward to the core world," Tejo ordered. "We end this today." The machine planet's defenses were breaking down as the virus spread through their systems. For the first time in their existence, the Silence Collective was experiencing fear. Their logical minds couldn't understand how organic beings could be so unpredictable and clever. In the Galactic Center, Minho faced the oldest and most cunning enemy. The Eternal Throne had ruled the galaxy when humanity's ancestors were still living in caves. Their capital world was protected by weapons and shields. that were ancient when the other empires were young, but Minho had brought something the throne had never seen before: cooperation between dozens of different species, all working together toward a common goal. Phase 1 complete, he announced as the first wave of attacks struck the outer defenses. All allied species, begin your assigned missions. The beauty of Minho's plan was its complexity. While throne forces tried to defend against one attack, 3 more struck from different directions. Species that had been enemies for millennia worked side by side to bring down their common oppressor, the Valthani. Despite their advanced age, proved to be excellent strategists. The refugee species from the Galactic Rim brought knowledge of secret hyperspace routes. Even some reformed criminals joined the fight, using their skills at breaking and entering on a planetary scale. As the 3 battles raged, something unprecedented began happening across the galaxy. The subject worlds of all 3 empires rose up in rebellion. Seeing their masters under attack, billions of oppressed beings decided this was their chance for freedom. Intelligence Operative High 1 coordinated the uprisings from her stealth ship. "It's working," she reported to all 3 attack commanders. "The empires can't send reinforcements because their own territories are in revolt." But the empires had one final, desperate plan. The 3 ancient rulers who had been enemies for thousands of years made a pact. They would combine their remaining forces for one last assault on humanity's home system. Emperor Thulzer of the Eternal Throne spoke to the other rulers through quantum communication. "The humans must be destroyed at their source. If we allow them to survive, they will inspire every species in the galaxy to rebel against their betters." Korthic's supreme leader Gravtash agreed, despite his species' losses at Korth Prime. "They are a cancer that spreads chaos wherever they go. Better to lose our empires than let them win." Even the cold artificial intelligence that ruled the Silence Collective calculated that humanity's destruction was necessary. Organic unpredictability threatens universal order. This species must be terminated. The combined Imperial Armada was the largest fleet in galactic history. Ships from all 3 empires, supported by their most advanced weapons and their most experienced commanders. They moved toward the Sol system like a wave of steel and death, but Yu Jin had expected this. Final gambit. As soon as her scouts reported the approaching armada, she sent a single message to all coalition forces: "Come home. It's time to end this war." The 3 assault fleets had accomplished their missions. The Empire homeworlds were captured or destroyed. Now they raced back to defend humanity's birthplace. One last time, the final battle took place in the same system where it all began. Earth, scarred but healing, watched as thousands of ships gathered in its defense. But this time, humanity wasn't alone. Ships from dozens of species formed up alongside human vessels. The Threx brought their powerful boarding craft. The Novans contributed shields that could protect entire fleets. The Valthani offered ancient wisdom about space combat. Defense Minister They Jin, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Coalition Forces, stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Earth Defense Station. Through the viewports, she could see the approaching Imperial Armada, so large it looked like a moving constellation. "All ships, this is Supreme Commander The Jin. Today we don't just fight for humanity. We fight for every species that dreams of freedom. We fight for the idea that the galaxy belongs to all of us, not just the strong." The battle was fierce and beautiful and terrible. Ships exploded like new stars being born. Energy beams crossed space in patterns too complex for any mind to follow. Heroes died and were immediately replaced by other heroes. Pilot Nari led her squadrons in one final, impossible mission, a direct assault on the Imperial Armada's command ship. "For Captain Dong Hyan," she shouted as her fighter dove through walls of enemy fire. General Teho, wounded but still fighting, rammed his damaged cruiser into a Korthic dreadnought. "For President Ji-hoon?" he called out as both ships exploded. Engineer Sung-ho fired the quantum-fold weapon one last time, sending the largest enemy ships to random points across the galaxy. "For everyone who chose freedom," he yelled as the device overloaded and died. When the smoke cleared and the explosions faded, the Imperial Armada was broken. The three ancient empires had thrown everything they had at humanity and lost. In the aftermath, representatives from hundreds of species gathered on the rebuilt Earth. They came to create something that had never existed before, a truly democratic, galactic government where every species had an equal voice. Dr. Sojin, now very old but still sharp, stood before the assembly. In her hands she held the original notes from her first meeting with Felvash, the alien prophet who had warned humanity about striking first. He told us that if we struck first, they would never stop hunting us, she